Alex, welcome to the show.
Hello, welcome.
I
Oh, thank you.
yeah, we're on screens here, so I'm welcoming you into my place and welcoming you into your home. It's all good. Um, Thank you so much for coming on the show today. This is going to be a fantastic conversation because I've been following your content for some time on TikTok, and I'm assuming most people who will follow this podcast will already know who you are anyway. Um,
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Well, anyway, they're going to get a lot of value from the conversations we're going to have today, and we're going to get stuck straight into it. I want to first off ask you to just go over your life story, and then assess because the whole point of this podcast is obviously to glean the skills and wisdom that we need to thrive as an adult. And I feel like,
Mhm.
with your story, there's definitely a lot of wisdom that can be gained for
Actually,
people just entering adulthood, which can be very frightening and intimidating. But I think if we can give
oh
the
God, yeah.
lessons, yeah, I think if we can at least impart some lessons, that'd be
Mm.
great. So take it away. What is your story?
Right. Well, how detailed did you want it? Because I can start off. Oh, it's a calm summer breeze in on an island north of Shan. No. uh, great.
I would say maybe just go over perhaps your school days, early adulthood, and I mean the good, the bad, the ugly, really. It's just more to give people a realization that they're not alone with these struggles. Like your journey is unique, but your struggles most of the time are not. We're all going through the same
Yeah.
mess, so to speak.
Um. Okay. Well, I mean, school was very hard for me. I was bullied continuously for 5 to 6 years. It started off kind of like gradual, normal kid shit. I was being bullied verbally, just like, oh, 30 and weirdo and freak and all that sort of thing. But then it slowly progressed and it got worse and worse. It got into physical violence, and it got extremely bad. And the most ironical thing is that the school I went to, every year for 7 years, got the best anti-bullying policies of the county,
Oh
which
wow.
I knew to be horseshit. Um, um, and like my mother like kicked off multiple times, but we couldn't really move schools because whenever I go to a new place, there is like an acclimation time because I still have great difficulty making friends nowadays. But back then it was like multiplied. Um, so I couldn't change school, so I had to stay in this hellhole. And I got severe depression. I did attempt to suicide. And then after school, I spent 2 years on a suicide watch list,
Hmm.
and I had near continuous therapy,
Yeah.
which wasn't fun.
Yeah, can I just ask you a few questions about that if you don't mind? And just a complete transparency as well. I was bullied at school as well, mainly because I refused to go with the flow, whereby everybody was more intelligent and when we all believe this is nonsense, but we're gonna go with the flow. We're all gonna like the same music, dress the same way. I was like,
Yeah,
no, no, I just don't want to. I don't like that
yeah,
music. I don't like dressing this way. And
mm,
yeah, you pay the social price, so to speak.
yeah.
Um,
You didn't
but
want to be part of the clique.
yeah, exactly. You weren't part of the clique and you paid the social price.
Yeah.
But something the very first question I wanted to ask in that particular segment of your life was what do you have to say to people, young people, and in fact, yeah, I'm gonna expand the horizons of this. People in offices now and young
Mm.
people and young adults, what do you have to say to them that in the regards of if they're being bullied and they feel terrible and they feel like why can't I just be normal, why can't I just be part of the cool kids, why can't they not just accept me for who I am?
Mm.
What advice or what perspectives do you have to offer to them?
Um, I would say, I mean, first and foremost, fuck them, because like everyone is a very unique individual. So if you're being bullied because of your uniqueness, in a way that just shows that you're going to be vastly different from the majority. and you will go forward to do hopefully great things because you're sticking to who you are as a person.
Mm.
You're saying F everyone else, I'm going to do me. That just shows individuality and just a great personality and a great creative and sort of persona. So stick with who you are,
Mm.
but also if you are bullied, and it took me like probably halfway through my college years to realize this, that dobbing people in for being assholes isn't like a crime.
Yeah.
If someone calls you a fat, useless fuckwit or something, sorry if I'm swearing too much.
No.
If someone calls you that, there is absolutely nothing wrong with going to the teacher and going, he called me a rude name. I feel physically, mentally attacked. I mean, I probably don't mention it like that because people with this whole era of like fucking cancel culture and stuff.
Yeah, it's more that yeah, this upset me, and I don't think it's
Yeah.
acceptable. Yeah, I 100% agree. But do you always find though, right, that the cool kids in school are the ones who peak in high school, and then afterwards, 10 years later, right, 10 years later, you see Karen, who is an absolute tool to a lot of people, is promoting the be kind hashtag on
Yeah.
Facebook and all me. I was like, where was this 10 years ago when you were,
Yeah.
I seen you bullying people and you were just being, because other people weren't in your little clique. Um,
Mm.
Something I think as well is, and I feel like this is very important to say, that with bullying, it is not your fault. You
Oh
know,
God, no.
yeah. I mean, I feel like a lot of people, and this is something I was guilty of as well, was that they're picking on me because of something I've done or something I'm not. And I
Mm.
feel like that if you become comfortable in your own skin, and this, unfortunately, if you're a kid or a young adult, I hate to say it, but like I'm 28 now, and it's like it's only as you grow older that you recognize that, not only were you never at fault, you're worthy of self-respect and dignity
Mm.
and the respect of others, but kids can just be assholes, unfortunately. Um,
Yes.
um,
A brief lesson I learned because, like in my college years, the tides briefly turned. I was myself a bully for a very literally like maybe like a month or so. I
yeah.
felt that power because it's not just thinking about you as being the bullied, but what
Mm.
about the bully? Why are they doing this? How are they feeling? And
Wow,
that sort of
yeah, I
thing.
didn't consider that perspective. So, just
Mm.
because this is an interesting point in the conversation, then, what would you have to say to bullies? If people are not naive, kids are more intelligent than we give them credit for. They know deep down what they're doing is wrong, and that they're
Oh God,
probably
yeah.
going to regret it in later years. But what do you have to say to the bullies?
uh, your internal struggles don't have to remain internal. They don't need to be forced into the outside to be taken out on other people. If you have internal demons and problems, talk about them to someone who can actually fix them, and don't try to outsource your problems in the form of telling someone that they're a fat, useless fuckwit.
Yeah, exactly. Because I sometimes feel like if it's not a great home environment, and
Oh yeah.
what a kid grows up in is verbal
Mm.
abuse um or just being an awful human being, then naturally they feel like, well, this is the home environment, this is the homeostasis, this is the
Mm.
standard, and then they take that out into the world and into the school, and then they can't. I'm not gonna give them a free pass, but perhaps sometimes they don't understand the real
Mm.
damage or the what they're doing. It isn't until I think
Yeah.
we become adults and we suddenly realize, ah, crap, I was a bit of a dick.
Yeah.
Or or flip the side of that coin. Actually, I never deserved any of this, and you build
Mm.
your own self-respect from that. But for people who are the weird, the misfits, I think the best thing you can do is find your tribe, because
Oh yes.
yeah, because I mean, like,
Once you find people to latch onto, literally just think of a limpet and stick to them,
yeah, yeah,
because they can be a safety blanket, they can be a shield, they can be a sword even at sometimes. Because whilst you are being bullied, like I was being, I didn't really find a tribe because well, I was the weirdo, I was the one who had answers to pretty much every question. I was the one who thoroughly got along with all, like, seemingly everyone.
Yeah.
I spoke my mind. If like you said, if I didn't like a piece of music, I would just go, I don't like it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I would be penalized for that.
Yeah,
Um,
100%. I
I,
think that's
yeah,
I think it's an interesting thing in the two recommendations I say. In that I want to expand on find your tribe, and I'll give a perfect example in my own case. I hung about with a group of people in school who were not my tribe, but I hung about with them because safety in numbers, social.
yeah,
You at least have some sort of social. And the thing was that every day I was with them, I was like, these people are not in line with my values. I just,
no,
and these people would, just be awful human beings at times, really truly awful human beings, and they had no ambitions
yeah,
in life. And it was a weird, I went through a weird phase in school where everybody was like, it was cool to get the worst grades possible, whereas me, I was quite ambitious, and it was like, actually I want to get really good grades so I can get a good job and achieve what I
mm.
want to achieve. That was apparently an alien concept, but alas. But then I switched. One day I decided I don't like that. I really, really don't like this. So I switched.
Mm.
And I went to another group who were the quote unquote uncool people. And literally just joined their group. And the moment I literally walked up to them like, "Can I hang out with you guys?" And they were like, "Yeah, 100%. Well, more the
Mm.
merrier." And suddenly we realized we had so much in common. Like, for example, we liked the same music. We
Mm.
liked video games, especially Halo. Shout out to all our fellow Halo players back in the day. Halo
Yep.
3 was the best game of the decade, just saying. Um, we had and I immediately fell into our own little clique, so to speak.
Mm.
And we were able to, in a weird way, become, you can get rid of the ego, so to speak, because when you're with a group of people who you don't like and they're not aligned with you put on a certain persona, don't you?
Mm.
And it's like,
Yeah.
no, this
It's
this
it,
is
it's almost like a form of herd mentality.
yes,
You're you're
100%.
you're with a group of people, and to fit in, you almost like a chameleon response. You're trying to blend in with them, so
Mm,
they're playing their tomfoolery or whatever, and you sort of blend into the background.
yeah, 100%.
Um,
But I think the other bit of advice, and this is something, if I could go back and change time, one bit of
mm,
advice I would say to all kids, especially the ones being bullied, take up martial arts, take up some form of self-defense. And I'm not saying that so that you can kick a bully's ass, right? Yes, if someone's attacking you, defend yourself and put him on his ass. But it's the confidence, the camaraderie, the teamwork, the skills you would learn going to a martial arts class. Now, and there's martial arts there's Brazilian jiu-jitsu,
yeah.
Krav Maga, karate, pick your one, but
Mm.
you will benefit in so many ways from getting that, that I can't recommend that enough. So
Mm.
yeah, definitely find your tribe and take up martial arts. That's my two
I,
bits of advice
I
as
would
well.
say, like, to add on to martial arts, I joined the Air Training Corps, ATC. I was
Oh
part
yeah.
of the 1876 squadron
Yeah.
down in Kingsbridge. And they, with autism, like, I just generally learned how to be a person,
Mm,
essentially, how to be in groups, but also how, I did learn, like, hand-to-hand combat. I learned night ops. I had great fun flying planes and shooting guns. That was great fun.
yeah.
Um, and but like it gives you a social structure, which as an adult comes along a lot easier. Like, you can speak to people a little bit easier, but as a child, having a group of people that like with either karate or jiu-jitsu or whatever, you have um like a little focus group. You all have one social thing that brings you all together, and
Yes.
in that forced environment, you have you have to speak to one another. You have to work together, and that teamwork can lead to a form of therapy in a way.
Yes, 100%. And like for me personally, I was an army cadet myself, and that got me into like the shooting team and stuff, and that built my confidence up so much because like I was
Mm,
never, I was always last on sports day, but within.
same.
Yeah, yeah. Here's the last place. No participation trophies in my day. Just saying. Oh, it just triggered a whole generation. um
uh,
so yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I was terrible at sports, but then suddenly went into the army cadets, and suddenly I was like the team captain of the shooting team, and the amount of
mm,
confidence that builds, like, again, it's another way of finding your tribe, and building that social structure that you need. But
yeah,
something I want to tag on just to the end of this conversation before we move on to the next part of your life,
yeah.
is how do you deal with your doubters, your haters, and in the process become your authentic self?
It's an ever-changing process. You will never like like unlike a Pokemon. There's no like final evolution.
I really like that. That'll be our little pithy quote from the entire episode.
Oh dear. Alex turns into Alexander. Ah!
Ah.
No, but it's an ever changing process.
Yeah.
The haters and the doubters. I mean, one way I like when I started doing like video production, like back in college and stuff. One of my tutors, by the name of Kelly, she gave me a perfect piece of advice, which was don't treat them as haters, don't treat them as like commenters or doubters or whatever. Treat them as constructive criticism. So they have found something wrong with your work. What is it? Try and find out what, and like, if that is the audience that you want to branch out to,
Mm.
then try and find what they don't like. I mean, if they are just being a narcissistic troll, then ignore them. It sounds very, very easy now because on my TikToks I do get doubters and haters and just general trolls. And the best thing I do is either I delete if the comment is that negative that it could potentially form more negativity in my comment section, like a virus. It would just fucking spread,
Mm.
which is what the troll wants. I'll delete the comment because I am in control.
Mm-hmm.
And my brain's just gone blank.
But that's
No.
I was gonna say
Uh,
that's cool. If you do think of it, just stop me and carry on. But I really like what you said there in the constructive criticism,
yeah.
because thankfully I don't know, like for me, I deliberately aim to not please everyone.
Mm,
Obviously there's a certain niche that I want to
mm,
target, and that is people leaving school and that kind of thing, to because I wish I had someone to give me advice and say do this, do that, or if you go through with this is a bad idea, from personal experience. I wish I had that, but now with this podcast,
mm,
obviously the intent is to pass that along. But I really like
mm.
what you said in that don't be afraid of constructive criticism. And I think
Yes.
that if it's coming from a place of like your friends or your family who have your best interests at heart, don't take
Yeah.
it personally. You
No.
know.
No. Not at all. Like a lot of constructive criticism can start out with just a simple comment going shit. But
Yeah.
also open a dialogue. Why do you think this is shit? And then if they answer back like, "Oh, your face is just stupid," ignore it. They
Yeah.
just say, "Hey, they are unintelligent," and that's a bit mean to say, but they have no. They are just a troll. They don't like you because you are being you majoritively. So they just comment some random bullshit to try and get a raise out of you, try to get a raise out of you and your fans. Like the amount
Mm.
of times that people are that's like I love the fellow peeps of the internet and how they literally like an ant, they just swarm onto this person going, oh no, 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 you're not going to damage him, you're going to have to get through us first.
Yeah.
But all, but all I'll do is I'll just delete the comment
Yeah.
because unfortunately negativity is like a seed of just doubt and hatred and awfulness, and it can spread.
Yes.
So best thing to do is to get rid of it, ignore it, and just get on with your life.
Yeah, 100%. Something I've found as well is to be your own cheerleader, because
Yeah.
like there's days when, like, certainly for me, I sort of have to remind myself the good I've done, the good I'm going to do, and the fact that, people really benefit from what I have to say, and I add value to people's lives in some
Yeah.
capacity. And I think that on those days, it's important to remember, like, when there's nobody cheering you on. Don't get me wrong, it's lovely when people leave me a 5-star review in the podcast. That gives me a little buzz. But
Mhm.
I don't get reviews every day.
Mm.
Or in life in general, I don't get a pat in the back every day saying well done. You've got to be
Yeah.
your own. You've got to be your own cheerleader. Now,
Oh yeah.
obviously, folks, there's a balance. Don't be a narcissist. But there's yeah, like, you're not the best thing since sliced bread.
Yes.
But you are incredibly unique. But yeah,
Mm.
be your own cheerleader and recognize the value you bring. Because
Mm.
despite what
But
people,
like
yeah, go on.
recent, like just after the pandemic, I started getting, like, when I started really getting popular. So when I had like 250,000 plus, like
Yeah,
now I'm at 500,000. Whoop. But
congratulations.
thank you. I started getting DMs through Instagram of people telling me like how my TikToks have helped them get through the immense boredom that was the lockdown.
Yes.
And like you said, being your own cheerleader, or if you're a massive foodie like myself, don't treat these good comments like chocolate, like a brief moment on the lips and a lifetime on the hips. Treat it like something that you gradually gives you energy, like
like oats or
uh
something.
yeah, something like that, or like, yeah, general carbohydrates. They generally gradually release their energies and stuff. Like when I, like, recently, I did feel down recently. I had a big depressive mood, and TikTok had banned me for bullshit reason. And so all I do is I save those comments and I go back into my DMs. I just reread them and just
Mm.
refocus my mind, saying, like, what I'm doing matters. What I'm doing is bringing, like, whilst in this moment it's not bringing me any joy, like I'm a miserable little shit at this moment, but my content is still out there. My words, my actions are still out there. They are still working, and they are still bringing people joy and happiness, which is, in the end, like, the best thing to do. So
Yeah,
yeah,
100%. And just very, very quickly, why do you think your content has been such a hit? Why do you think that so many people relate to what you have to say?
not a fucking clue. Like,
But
I thought.
can I say, from my perspective, I just find it very refreshing. Like, it feels like you're speaking from the heart and you're saying what everybody's thinking. And
Mm,
but then on top of that, I always find that I leave your TikToks usually smarter than when I started them, because there's only some sort of really interesting information. So for example, I love astronomy, absolutely can't get enough of it. But
mm,
but sometimes you post some things on astronomy, I'm like, I did not know that. Or
yeah,
something I did know, I was like, I'm glad you reminded me of that. Just reminds me why I love this topic. That's
yeah.
just my own perspective, why I love your particular TikTok in general.
Mm. No, people have made comments saying that I just appear genuine and
Yes.
stuff like that. Like, but I've always done this sort of content. I've been on YouTube. Well, I've had a YouTube channel for nearly 15 years,
Yeah.
and only now with the TikTok fame, you could call it, and I am branching over to YouTube gradually. Yeah, I haven't really necessarily changed my content. It was probably just like the luck of the time kind of thing.
Yes.
Because when the followers and the comments and the likes started really rolling in, it took me by bloody surprise.
Yeah, I
I
can
was just,
imagine so. Yes.
okay, like, hopefully the kids or teenagers watching, just like how no one can truly prepare you for life. No one prepared me for this.
Hmm.
Literally waking up to 500,000 people who, for some reason, like to follow me and start getting interested in every aspect of my life. I've had a marriage proposal already, and that freaked me the fuck out.
Do you know what just came to my mind? You say like 500,000 people follow me. I just have this weird Life of Brian scene in my head. It's like picture Alex. He's not the Messiah. He bloody well isn't.
He's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty
Naughty
boy.
boy. There's going to be an entire generation who will not get that joke.
No, it's like, what's Jesus do? What? I didn't remember that part.
Oh yeah. And the very last. So I keep saying the very last thing, but you keep saying like such good stuff. I need to attach on to it here. You said though, on a bit more of a serious note, that you ended up going to therapy for your bullying in that case, and I've been to therapy as well, and I've discussed this several times on the podcast. But something you said that really I found really interesting there was you said that was therapy and it wasn't great. Could I, if you don't mind, do you mind if I delve into that, or is that's not something you want to talk about?
I was generally just not very comfortable with speaking to strangers, which is just like that. Just like that. I think that's more of the autism thing.
Yeah.
Because my mother and father, like I was diagnosed with autism when I was 13, so I was late diagnosed. Because at that point, mum and dad just thought they'd given birth to a real dunce. Because English and maths, get fucked. Sorry, can't do it. I'm a kinetic learner, and I learned through doing and seeing. And once I had the diagnosis of autism, it helped them a little bit. But when the bullying started, my mother and father, they tried their best to, when my sister got bullied, they could talk to her and she would understand it. But because of how my brain functions, you can't teach me the same way.
Yeah.
So then, like literally, I think the first month of my therapy, so to speak, I would walk into a room with a complete fucking stranger who I'd never met in my life and just start crying, just an hour and a half of me just bawling my eyes out and just unintelligible like shrieks in between the tears, and I remember I got quite angry at the person at one point because they just did fucking nothing.
Yeah.
They just sat there like, how do you feel? Fuck off.
Yeah. How do you think I feel? Yeah. I mean, for me personally, I got immense benefit from a therapist. I actually, I'm part of a men's group, and one of the guys in our group said, just a heads up, guys, I'm just letting you know I'm going to therapy today. And we were all like, yes, well done, happy days. Obviously, we're not professionals, but we can try and support you in whatever way possible. And then I casually joked, saying, yeah, I probably should have gone to therapy at some point as well. And one of the guys in the group was like, well, I'm challenging you now to find a therapist within your area, within your budget by the end of the month. And right enough, I did. Got to the therapist, and the one bit of advice that the aforementioned gentleman who went to therapy first, he said, don't be completely transparent, don't like make them drag it out of you. So I did the opposite of what you do in a first date, and I met the therapist, and I just went, blah, everything. Here's everything, there you go. And she was like, you know what, it's really refreshing, I didn't have to like drag that out of you, like, so now we know what we're dealing with. But like, have you gone to therapy since then, if you don't mind me asking, or is that something that's just no?
It's like, I will answer questions when asked, but I won't feel. It's a weird thing. Like, the short answer is no, I haven't been back to therapy, and I have thought to myself, it might be good, because I have had, like, during the pandemic, before I started creating and taking my mind off how shit life is, there were very dark parts of my mind that I went to. I got very depressed, as we all did over the pandemic, and there were moments when I thought, speak to a therapist, try to engage in a conversation and this, that, and the other. I mean, I spoke to a suicide hotline, but they didn't really help. They just thought, oh, speak to your therapist. I'm speaking to you.
Yeah, I mean, like, for those of you who are potentially tuning in for the first time, I do have a therapist who's on at least once a quarter on the podcast, and he did go into detail on what to look for in a good therapist, and I'll link that in the show notes. Because it's like everything. There are not all mechanics are good mechanics. Not all doctors are
Yeah.
good doctors. It's the same in every profession. You get the good and the bad ones, but as well, a simple Google search looking for red flags of what a bad therapist is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, something I do want to chat about now, if you don't mind, is the autism which you say you were diagnosed with at
Mhm.
13. I'm going to be totally transparent with you. I don't know a great deal about it, but I want to know and I want to understand. So can you give me, like, in a nutshell, what autism is and what its effects are?
In a nutshell, Christ. Okay. It's not like I remember like when autism was like quite new and people were saying, oh, you get it from vaccines or it's just a phase, and you're like, back off.
Yeah.
It's a the polite way is it's a genetic anomaly that happens within the brain when you're growing up. So you're
Mhm.
born with it.
Mhm.
You can't just sort of like, oh, I turned 37 today. Oh, I'm autistic today. No, fuck off.
Yeah.
So it's a learning difficulty. So the way I was told it by my doctor was that my brain is configured differently. So in the realms of like telling jokes, for example, if let's say there was a third person in this conversation and they told a joke, are you autistic or do you have like
No,
ADHD?
well, to my knowledge, I don't. I haven't been diagnosed with any of them.
Okay, so you are I think it's the word neurotypical. I think is the word. So
I've heard neurotypical and neurodivergent bounced around.
yes,
Yes.
so I would be the neurodivergent kind
Mm-hmm.
of person. So if a third person was to tell a joke, you might think, "Ha, amusing, funny." Meanwhile, I'm on the floor rolling around crying with laughter. That's that sort of thing. So we process things a lot differently.
Right.
So with me, like I can't hide my emotions. I'm very black and white. If
Mm.
I say if I think that someone is being an asshole, like I can try and hide it to be polite, but they will still get the message because
Yeah.
we do tend to wear emotions on our sleeves.
Yeah.
But then again, also like autism is a bit like um, marijuana in a way because it affects everyone differently. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, because I have Asperger's syndrome. That's a particular part of autism that I have, which is
Mm-hmm.
like middle scale. Um, and there's so many different variations of how it affects people.
Yes.
So trying to think. Like I've got a TikTok video coming up soon, which is so a ADHD person on
Mm-hmm.
TikTok. I think she's called like something Saurus or something.
Right.
Do you know of her? She
I'm
wears
afraid.
glasses.
I'm afraid
No,
not. No.
right. She posed a question like, "What if for a day you gave yourself permission to be 100% yourself?" Um,
Oh, that's powerful.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Now I've spent the best part of like 20 odd years building up a mediated persona, not only online but also in person. So I'm not. So I try to hide a majority of my autistic tendencies, like stimming or like you can't really hide that often. But if you divert it, it just comes off as enthusiastic or or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and in honesty, people wouldn't recognize me because I've created this mask that I have lifted very, very rarely. I mean, don't I mean, people might be taking this the wrong way. You must hide your true self to fit in with the normies. No, absolutely fucking not. Be yourself. Because
Mm-hmm.
every once in a while, my true self does pop out. When
Mm-hmm.
I'm in stressful situations, or um, I think I remember I was tasked to film Radio One. There was a Radio One like music festival,
Yep.
and I was tasked with filming, taking pictures and stuff. but loud noises and a lot of people I didn't know. Half the footage was off the floor. So I couldn't particularly use that, and the people that hired me were very unhappy. But every once in a while, like, I do stim and I do like stutter because I also have dyslexia, so I've got the shit end of the stick, really. But that's fine. If the real you pops out every once in a while, that's fine. And if you find someone, like, when it comes to relationships and stuff, I've been single for 10 plus years, so I have no idea what relationship in my 30s would look like. But in my back in my 20s, you know, you can let yourself be yourself around people that you truly trust and love.
100%.
And now my train of thought has ended. Continue.
It was a great trail of thought. The one quick question I wanted to ask, and it's actually not on my own question, it's from my co-host before we move on to the next part of your life, is there a good way for a non-Asperger's individual to ask and talk to someone with Asperger's about this condition so that they can understand without sounding like a twat?
Generally, just ask. I mean, don't like try to shy up to it. It's like, oh, you're acting a little bit weird, a little bit funny, you know. So, are you fucked? Just ask. Like, I've noticed that you act a little bit differently. Are you do you have a learning difficulty? Which is the best way? I think. I mean, okay. Are you familiar with the YouTube event called Summer in the City?
No, I'm afraid not.
Right. What? Huge event. YouTubers and content creators from all around England come together in one place, and a way to ask, are you? Do you have a learning difficulty, or do you have autism, or something like that? How not to do it is, hello, are you retarded?
You may get chinned. No,
yes.
Just saying I can't guarantee what the reaction will be, but you may get chinned.
Just say that, you know, just simply asking the question, you know, do you have this? Do you have that? Do you have, a majority of people will just say, yes, I do, or no, I don't. If the answer is something else, or if an altercation is started, then that's the problem with them, not you.
Yeah.
Just it sounds weird, even though that we don't act normal. Treat us like you would any other person. So you just are. So I think the very first time I started like working, my boss just literally asked, like, do you have any learning difficulties? Yes. And then I just rattle them off.
Yeah.
Asperger's syndrome, which is a form of autism, and dyslexia. And then I just go into a little bit more detail. If they want more questions, ask them. Just simply ask and I will answer. That's how it works.
I think the key is that a lot of people feel embarrassed with these conditions, and they shouldn't be. And the key is to remove the stigma around it. And I totally agree with what you said there. Treat people like you would anyone else. In my opinion, I don't think you should give people special treatment. I think 9 times out of 10 people do not want special treatment. They just want to be treated like everybody else, regardless of whatever they have or whatever they're suffering from.
Well, that's all fun and dandy, unless they actually require some special treatment.
100%. Yeah. Apply good common sense, folks.
I'm not going to go up to a lady in a wheelchair and saying, "Would you like to dance?" Are you going to carry me? But just treating people like people. As recently I went to a work do, and one of our, we have one of these programs where a special needs person will come in and they work for a day, just to see what the work environment is like. And this person has like severe Down syndrome and stuff, and people were talking to him like idiots.
Oh, for flip's sake.
Just sort of like, oh, are you having a nice time? Are you enjoying that wine? It's like, fuck off. Did you catch the football last night, mate? Did you do this, that, and the other? How are you feeling? This, just asking them normal questions, and you will get a somewhat normal response, hopefully.
Yeah, I really like
But
that. I really do.
yeah, it's like a bouncy ball. The transfer of energy. If you give a certain amount, you will receive a certain amount. But if you give the wrong amount, you'll get pelted in the face.
Yeah, that's a very, very good analogy. I like that. Um, so just very quickly, we'll move on to the next part of your life. So you went through school, you were diagnosed with autism, you were bullying. What did life take you on after school?
After school, I went to a special needs college,
Mm-hmm.
which was down in Cornwall, to try and learn how to be somewhat independent. So it was a boarding college,
Mm-hmm.
so I was away from home. I got very, very homesick. Like at one point, I wasn't eating. I was just continuously crying. I could call my parents. Finally, I was of the age that I could actually get a mobile phone, which
Mm.
was new technology for me back then.
Yeah. Yeah, Nokia
um,
3310s, if I remember correctly.
I did have one of those, but my first one was like, do you remember the little Samsung ones?
Yes, yes, I
Yeah,
do.
that was my first phone.
Fair
First thing,
enough.
first game I had was Snake. Oh God, Snake.
Oh, good old days.
Yeah, but um, yeah, I went to that college for several years. I did a course called Pathfinder, which took me on like several different courses.
Mm.
So, I mean, the college was agricultural, so I went through horticulture, equine. I did some business, some IT. I did a lot of farm work, which was interesting. And just trying to find your path, which is ironical because even to this day I'm still confused as to what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there is no master plan. Just try to live a decent life.
Yeah.
Um, but then after that college, I went to a different college, which was more aimed at like technology and multimedia.
Mm.
I, from a very young age, I was using like camcorders. Like when the first camera phone came out, holy shit, I was all over that.
Yeah. Yeah. It was mad
It's like,
technology, wasn't it?
it's like, Mom, I took a picture on my phone. What?
Yeah. Space age at the time.
Yes, yeah. I remember watching. I think when I was first introduced to like film and TVs, I think one of my favorite films to date is the 1956 film Forbidden Planet,
All right. Okay.
which had like they had they had walkie talkies on strings. So they had like a huge like a battery pack on their belt, and they'll have to yank up this like microphone like Captain's Log, and it's just so fucking cool. And then now today, when everything is wireless, like Marvel characters for some reason tap on their earlobe and suddenly they're speaking to someone else on a different planet. Madness. I went on a bit of a tangent there, but yeah, I focused my energy more into like multimedia, camera techniques. I said that I wanted to become either an actor or a director, literally opposite ends of the spectrum,
Mm.
because I could do it. I had the ability that, like just a creative ability that my teachers saw and they nurtured, and it was just a generally nice place to go. And that was South Devon College in Paynton now.
Yeah. So that's
And it was,
potentially, yeah. So potentially, if there's anyone listening to this and they do have learning difficulties, perhaps that's a place they could consider attending.
yeah, oh definitely. They have decent programs there. I don't know whether like the first college I went to, which was Dutch E College, which is down in Cornwall. That was a boarding college.
Mm.
I don't know whether that's even open yet. Or
Fair enough.
yeah, because that was a long time ago. Anyway, yeah. So, and then after college, I just sort of I tried to live somewhat independently.
Mm.
So I have some help from the government, so I could get a roof over my head, and I lived in a building with wardens, so they would come over and check on me every once in a while just to make sure that I'm doing normal independent things. Am I washing the dishes? Am I having regular showers? Am I brushing my teeth? This sort of thing. So I was essentially in care. Like I said before, in a video that I'm going to be releasing soon, if I reverted myself back to before the mask and before the media persona, no one would recognize me.
Yeah.
I have grown up and matured a lot, partially through majority of like my own work, but also like the people that you surround yourself with have a big impact with how you will end up like living your life.
Yeah. Choose your friend circle wisely. Yeah.
Yeah, or just be around people that not only make you comfortable, but you make them comfortable. Be able to have conversations with that person that make other people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Being comfortable in silence, but also being comfortable having the uncomfortable conversations.
yeah,
Yeah. I think as well, I think that if you can find a peer group that will uplift you and support your goals and not get jealous or insecure if you know, whatever your ambitions may be, but also the ones that will call you out on your own BS, you know,
oh
who
yeah,
aren't, you know,
definitely.
I think that's the best type of friend. I think the one that can go, mate, this isn't you, or mate, no harm to you, but I think you're being a bit of a dick. But then you know it's coming from a place of love because they're invested in you, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but yeah, so after this particular phase of life, where did life take you?
Like I said, into like sort of like special needs care, and I've
Yeah,
remained in there for a number of years, and like I still have help to this day, but not to the same degree.
yeah,
I've grown up to the point where, I have my own place and I can sort of what's the word? Sustain myself. I don't even
yeah,
know the word.
yeah.
Um, but I do still have quite a bit of help, like trying to understand things.
Mm.
Like on my TikToks, I talk about the wonders of the universe. People ask me questions and I just seem to know the answer. Even I baffle myself. But then give me a tax form, or like when I was doing freelancing work, an invoice, I have no pissing clue.
Mm.
So so today I still have like carers of a sort. But they don't constantly interact with me. I have to interact with it. I have to show independence and just say,
Yeah,
I need help. Can you help me with this?
yeah,
Pardon
yeah.
me.
But it's good to know that those resources are available for people as well.
Oh God, yeah. It like um I highly doubt that I would be living the way that I live nowadays without the help that I've received over the years. I mean, it's a regular fantasy for a lot of people. Like, what if I won the lottery? If
Mm.
I know for a fact, if I won the lottery like tomorrow or whatever, I'm repaying the councils and the people that helped me and the carers and the hospital staff that like helped me through the difficult times of my life. Just like trying to work out how to get utility bills. That
Mm.
was just insane for me.
Yeah,
Um,
that's probably one of the most wholesome things I think I've ever heard. I'm not gonna lie. People always say, "Oh, I win the lottery, I'll buy my super yacht, my car," and then the fact that you've just said you want to repay the council and everyone who's ever helped you, man. Yeah, that's really
yeah,
wholesome. That's really cool.
yeah. I've watched like if you go onto the National Lottery website, like they have like testimonials from the people who won the lottery, and it's sort of like you're the wrong person to receive that because, like you said, they just like spend it on money, drugs, and women and all this crap. It's like there's so much more to life.
Hmm.
There's so much more. Like a car, like a typical boy thing. I loved cars growing up. Like one, I used to say my favorite car was like a Shelby Mustang, the Eleanor Mustang from Gone in 60 Seconds. I fucking love that car. But
Yeah.
my dad gave me a piece of wisdom, which was literally like a car is a utilitarian vehicle. Its entire purpose on this planet is to get you from point A to point B in relative safety and comfort. That's it. Top speed, suspension, whether it has electrical seats or not, fucking doesn't really matter.
That's a very
So
interesting
like
perspective.
yeah, so I still don't drive to this day because like the theory test is just a nightmare for me. I have
Mm.
nightmares about it. But I am still striving to do it because it's one of the final steps towards like full independence in my mind. Being able to drive.
Hmm.
But driving from A to B doesn't matter whether you're doing it in a Vauxhall course or Corsa or a Lamborghini Uranus. It's still a car.
Yeah. It's all about perspective and looking at the bigger picture, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you got to this stage in life, and then suddenly you started making TikToks and became this mad famous individual who everybody loves to go to and relate to as well. Just very briefly, how was that journey for you, signing up to TikTok and just starting to create your own content, and then suddenly you wake up one morning, you've got 500,000 people following you?
Terrifying. Because like I follow like popular YouTubers, and I've like I said, I've been on YouTube for many years, and I've seen how they react. And one of my primary ways of learning is I watch, I learn. Like I said before, I'm a kinetic. That's how I create, partially how I created the mask I put on whenever I meet people in public. So I've learned how to deal with quote unquote fame from the people that I idolize, the people that I follow. So you know, whilst I fully like, I know they are there, but at the same time, I sort of treat it like they are there behind a see-through curtain. So there is a barrier.
Yes.
And like, I don't let the fame go to my head. Like, at no point do I walk into a pub or my place of work and just go, "Do you know who I am?" I wish to like this chewing gum is free for me because I have 500,000 followers. Nah,
out of the way, peasant. Yeah. And just in, for anyone out there who happens to listen to this and they do have a significant amount of followers, and it is, as you say, it is terrifying. Do you have any advice for that, for creating that wholesome, because you have created quite a wholesome culture within your TikTok? I think your particular fan base, if I would like to call it that, it seems to be everyone is very tolerant and is wholesome, and everybody's just there to have a good time and watch your content. But what's your advice to people who do come into that fame and to creating that wholesome culture within their own fan base?
If you are a creator and you've created a fan base to the degree that I have, or lower, like if you've created, if you have a fan base of 10, you still have a fan base.
Yeah, 100%.
I have a fan base of 500,000. So is that daunting? Yes. Am I low-key terrified whenever someone sees me in public and actually goes, "It's you"? Yes. But the way to stay sort of wholesome is just remember that they are here because of the persona that you perceive out to the world, who you are as a person. If you are a decent person, then whatever you create will also hopefully be decent, because they are hopefully leading by example.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I've started people have asked questions in the TikTok and say, "Oh, this might be a stupid question." And then I'll start off the TikTok or the video by saying, "There's no such thing as a stupid question," because you are trying to find information.
You're putting your curiosity into action.
The seeking of knowledge isn't something that should be taboo or banned. It should be embraced and nurtured. That's what you do with your audience. You open an avenue, a dialogue almost. I mean, there are obviously things. I don't tell my audience my address. Whenever I do lives and they say, "Oh, where are you in England?" I say Devon, which is a huge landmass. They're not like, it's like a needle in a haystack. And I do that simply for personal safety. Because,
of course, 100%. Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. When I meet fans, it's an awesome experience. I mean, it sucks that this is a fucking pandemic, so I can't hug them because I am a hugger.
Yeah.
But I've had face bumps. I've done fist bumps. I've taken selfies with people. It like meeting the fans is an awe-inspiring experience. I think yesterday someone actually stopped a truck to see me. They were driving the truck and literally driving TikTok. I was like, yes, fist bump and move on.
So that just happened.
Yeah. You get recognized in some weird ass places. Like even with a face mask, I get recognized. But I think it's something to do with my voice. I open my mouth and people are like, "Oh, you're that guy from TikTok." Like, well, how do you know? But
Sorry, I was just interested. You got me a thought in my head there. One of the best memes I ever seen was boyfriend and a girlfriend. They didn't call it kissing; they called it face battling. Um, and they insisted on their wedding day that the pastor, whoever I don't know, said did the wedding ceremony. He says, "You may now face battle the bride." And I thought that's one of the best things I've ever heard. It was just when you said face bump, I was like, "Oh, I remember that."
yeah. Or do you remember like I don't know whether you had the same thing, but it's like when people say, "Oh, they play tonsil tennis."
That's the first time I've heard that.
Yeah, that's something that used to be worded around the playground. Oh, did you hear about Margaret and Jason? They're playing tonsil tennis. It's like, right? Okay.
That's great. I'm going to use that. I'm going to have to put that into more of my conversations from now on. Just
use it as a shut-up line. It's like, hey, do you like playing tennis? How about tonsil tennis?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh wait, might up my Tinder game with that one. Who knows? So coming up to the end, unfortunately, but question I do want to ask is the final two questions. If I in fact I'll put this one first. Overall, for the sum of your life experience and everything you've experienced so far, what would be the critical life lessons you would impart to a young adult or someone who is feeling a bit? I was like, they woke up yesterday, they were 17, and today they just woke up and wow, I'm officially an adult. What life experience and lessons do you have to offer them?
Whether you're an adult or not, like that's a mental state. You know, I'm
Oh
30.
yes, that's a powerful one.
I'm 33, and I still laugh at farts. You know, you're meant. I can be as serious as stone, and I can be as fucking hysterical as water. So, like, that's just a mental state. So get out of that stigma straight away. It's that's I have no idea. Like the things I've learned mostly in life is just people are weird. Humanity is ever changing. It's ever growing. You know, probably when you and I were kids, this whole cancel culture, internet trolls, was a phantom idea,
Oh
and
yeah,
now it's a
100%.
reality. Yeah, it's like growing up with internet trolls. It's a fucking task. But you learn something new every single day. You never stop learning. You will constantly be finding out new and interesting things, whether it's on my channels or whether it's just randomly you'll be walking past someone and you glimpse a bit of their conversation, or you'll be having a conversation with a friend. Surround yourself with decent people. That I would say, like, that's probably number one. You know, just there is no clear goal. Again, like I said before, like I went on a course of Pathfinder when I was like in my teens. I still don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. I think that is a big takeaway. Just so you are aware, everybody's winging it. The 30-year-old, the 60-year-old, everyone is winging it. Just
Oh yeah.
You never truly quite figure out what you're doing.
Yeah. There are people who are like trained to be astrophysicists, like the smartest people on the planet, but yet they are adhering to the dumbest portion of our society.
Yeah.
Like I remember having a fantastic conversation with that I met an ex stripper like years ago, and she took like biochemistry, and she was trying to be a microbiologist. But but at the same time, she was also a stripper to pay the bills and that.
Yeah.
And it was like fighting two stigmatisms.
Yes.
Because like the stigmatism and the stereotype that you get fed about like strippers or people in the sex industry is that they're relatively dumb, and they are just selling their body for money and this, that, and the other. Like,
Mm-hmm.
on the hand, yes, they are appeasing. Like, a number one rule in advertising: sex sells,
Yeah,
pure
that's
and
true.
simple. Yeah. So yes, whilst in the evening she is throwing herself around on a pole, but at the same time she knows the complexity of the human body. She
Mm.
knows that she. It was just a fascinating conversation to have with a person who lives. She lives one life but two lifestyles. Put it that way.
Oh, that's an interesting concept. Yeah,
Mm,
it comes back to that age old thing of don't judge a book by its cover, isn't it?
absolutely. I mean, judging people is one of the biggest waste of times.
Yeah.
I've said in my TikTok, I don't give a flying monkeys what religion you follow, what color your skin is. If you're a decent person, I will speak to you and I will treat you as I treat my own friends. If you're an arsehole, you will see only the back of my head.
Yeah, yeah,
So I walk away.
and that triggers a memory for me, in that famous speech from Martin Luther King Jr. Is it, he hopes someday that his kids are judged by not by the color of their skin, but by
Yes.
the content of their character. And
Yeah.
that one liner is just on a slight tangent. I met a dude who was in the SAS, and he was there at that speech.
Whoa.
And of all places, it was a Weatherspoons, and I was sat chatting away with him, and he was telling me about what was it? He served in the Korean War, I think. But he was telling me how he was a blatant racist,
Mm.
but then he watched that speech, and they said that was the moment it changed. And he was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, I recognize my bigotry, my
Oh God. Yeah.
judgments and stuff." I was like, "What an incredible life!" And I wish I had a podcast then to interview him then, but alas.
Try and
That-
find them. Just like, I'm looking for an old racist who used to be in SAS.
Exactly. But yeah, I think if I was to impart my own life lessons, I would say find your tribe, get some martial arts in, and know that regardless of what the haters and doubters say, you bring value to people's lives. You may not, people, unfortunately, people don't vocalize it a lot, but you are valued. So always remember that, folks.
But then that's also a lesson for them. Like, if you get, let's say you have, let's say you meet five of your fans and three of them say that you're shit.
Mm.
Treat that, like I said before, like constructive criticism. Maybe you are doing something wrong that only a small majority of the people that you're reaching actually like. So you
Mm.
might need to change your not don't change who you are as a person, but change the content that you put out there.
Yes.
Um, like if if you're aiming to be a chef, try different dishes. If you're a video creator, a different editing style or a different script thing, or like for me, like weirdly enough, speaking to musicians helped me with my speaking
Oh, right.
because
Okay. That's very cool.
yeah, it was bizarre. Like speaking to lyrical people, um, and learning like beats and rhythms and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's quite interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, try to do
I
that.
it's something that it just came to my head as well, and I was actually thinking about this earlier today. When I went to therapy, I was established I had a negative core belief that was
Mm,
set when I was a kid, that I was useless and I was what's the word? I was incompetent. That was it. That's the word.
yeah.
That you're incompetent. That was a negative sort of self. That was a negative core belief I had, which I've now managed to get dismissed, which is great.
Mm,
But one of the biggest revelations I ever had was that people are scared of failure, people are scared of messing up and that kind of thing. And as you say, if you've
mm,
got constructive criticism, I feel like people tie failure with their core identity. And I think it's very key to
mm,
recognize that you have your core identity, which is, worthy of respect, love, all that kind of thing. But
yeah.
your actions, you take actions every day. A big revelation for me was that I win every day, but I also lose every day. There are parts of
Oh
my
yeah.
day. There are parts of my day I absolutely kick ass, and there's parts of my day that it's not great at all. But
Mm,
those actions are not explicitly tied to my work. my worth as an
No,
individual. It's like,
absolutely not.
so you could, but that was a revelation for me, because if I messed up in work, or I messed up in some, or I don't know. I've never lost my job, thankfully, but like argument's sake, let's say I lost my job. Oh, I'm a failure, or I've messed up, or something like that. No, you haven't. I'm 28 now. And it's taken a long time to realize that
Mm.
your individual core self is always valuable, is always worthy of respect, and all the good stuff. But
Yeah.
your actions certainly need to. If you make bad choices, don't be surprised at bad consequences. But at the same time,
Yeah.
don't don't tie up your
Well, people
failures.
see
Yeah.
people seem to treat failure a lot like death, as in it's final. So no, 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 no,
Yes.
no, 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 no,
Yes,
no,
they
no.
do.
When you fail, it is like, uh, okay, let's go to the extreme. Jeff Bezos, richest
Yes.
man in the world. Once in a blue moon, he trips up and twats himself on the pavement. I've done that multiple times. Everyone's had a trip or fall in their time.
Yeah.
Like even he's done it. But all
Yeah.
you do is you get back up and you just try again.
I like that.
Um, okay, like a trial failure thing. Like I said, I've been on the internet for 15 years, and only now am I gaining sort of like an internet fandom.
Yeah.
Am I getting a step closer to doing what I want to do as a career, which is just general content creation. I like content. I like making content, and that's all I would like to do. But it's a long road.
Yeah.
Stay on it.
Yeah, exactly. And it goes back to what you said earlier in the conversation, that you never stop evolving, you never stop
Oh yeah.
learning. You know,
Mm.
I'm going to paraphrase the quote here because I can't remember it exactly, but I think it was Winston Churchill that said, success is going from failure to failure without any loss of enthusiasm.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, yeah, that's pretty good. I would love to go into a story of how I completely screwed up my own my very first ever podcast interview. It was a disaster from start to finish, but that'll be for another time. The final question I want to ask you, and this is a question I'm going to start asking all my guests,
Mm-hmm.
is what have you never been asked?
Crap.
Or
Ooh.
what's a question you've never been asked? Could be anything. Serious, funny.
A question probably I've never been asked is like you've seen the whole like sort of where do you see yourself in 10 years, but where do you see yourself at the end? Like,
Ooh.
yeah. Hopefully I've reached a moderate level of success. I'm not talking like I don't want to be like Jeff Bezos, like billionaire or multi-millionaire. Like there's a point where you can afford everything that you want in life. So bills, maybe an occasional holiday, and this, that, and the other. The stuff that you need to facilitate your
Mm-hmm.
job, your career, and also your life, and also like your personal life.
Yeah.
So I've reached a modicum level of that, but also, you know, I've given back to the people who've given to me. So, like I said, the carers who have helped me through my life,
Yes.
my mother and father, I hope to one day either pay off their debts or give them an expensive gift as a thank you. I mean, my father and my mother, they're not really materialistic.
Mm.
More than likely, if I won the lottery and I bought them a car, more than likely I'll get a roller. It wouldn't be greeted like, "Oh, thank you," but like, "What the fuck have you bought me this?" But just like giving something to them, which means a lot. It's always the thought that counts. Yeah. So like when my era has come to an end, I hope to have achieved something worthy. Like whether I'll be remembered for like 100 years, I doubt it. Um, but as long as I'm remembered for just being who I want to be,
Mm.
I'm groovy.
I really like that. That's a really powerful concept, and it made me think of a quote. Actually, I cannot remember who said it, but it's always stuck with me. And that the goal is not to live forever; it is to create something that will. And
Mm,
I feel like that your vision somewhat aligns with that concept as
yeah.
well.
But also, you say that you have that your core belief or something. You said,
Yeah, it was
yeah,
I've now got a positive core belief of I'm perfectly able or I'm perfectly competent to attempt this. It doesn't mean I'm immune to failure, but it's like it means
yeah,
then to I'm free to risk, take a controlled, educated risk with rejection, with
mm,
failure, with anything of that nature. Yeah.
yeah. I don't have that. My my core. Let's say inside of the human mind, there's a mirror of how you judge yourself. I
Yeah.
judge myself very, very harshly and very, very negatively, shall we say?
Mm,
Which is like the video that you quoted very very at the beginning of this podcast, saying that I I judge myself
mm,
comparing to other people. I That's something I can't really seem to stop. So whenever I have a bad day, my mind just flips onto me and
mm,
starts pulling out all the your own worst. The worst enemy you can ever encounter is yourself.
yes. Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's either you conquer the beast or you become friends with it. I would
Oh.
say that right now I am a frenemy to myself.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, it wasn't sort of an overnight switch. I think about
Oh God, no.
I think I did about 6, 7 therapy sessions. And thankfully, because I was totally honest and I did the hard work, I'm reaping the benefits now. But as
Mm,
we said before, if you really want to go see a therapist, don't. It feels intimidating, but it's not. Get in there, find a good therapist.
mm,
Look for the red flags, obviously. And something that's helped me personally, I'm not religious, but I do subscribe, or at least try to subscribe to Stoicism. That's
mm,
always quite helpful to me with my mental states. And if I'm having a particularly bad day, 9 times out of 10 I can have it swatted away. I've now got like a man shed of mental tools that I have that I can deal with between exercise, stoicism, meditation,
mm,
and various other things. This is something I can definitely do a deep dive on in another episode, folks, if you want. But in the interest of your time, Alex, I want to thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your story and the wisdom that you've gained through your life and all the lessons you've learned.
mm.
And folks, if you want to connect with Alex, all his links to the content to his content will be in the show notes. But I just want to say once again, Alex, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for having me.